What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets Central podcast, episode number 96. And thankfully, there ended up being news dropping right as we were about to go live, which is very out of the norm for us. Usually, this stuff breaks after, which thankfully, my busyness today ended up delaying the podcast. So I apologize for that as well, because usually we do go live around 2 or 3 o'clock. But unfortunately today, going live later. But the Mets hired their hitting coach in Jeff Albert. And then on top of that, we are going to be doing player grades because I don't think we could do an hour-long episode talking just about Jeff Albert being hired as the hitting coach. Before we jump into everything, I ask, though, that you please leave a like on your way into the show here. Or if you're watching on replay, subscribe if you guys are new to the channel, especially if you're Met fans, and turn on your notifications so you know when we upload or go live here on the channel. But with that said, like I said at the top here, the Mets have their hitting coach. They have obviously let go of Eric Chavez, which we ripped into him multiple times over the past few weeks. And now they get their guy in Jeff Albert as Jeff Passan breaks the news. And he tweeted out, New York Mets director of hitting development Jeff Albert will be in charge of the major league team's hitting program in 2026. Sources tell ESPN. Albert will be in uniform and help fill the void left by firings of hitting coaches Jeremy Barnes and Eric Chavez. Now, I'm not going to sit here and play pretend and tell you that I know everything about Jeff Albert. There's a little bit of an echo, by the way, coming through your end.
On mine? Okay, well,
Yeah, yeah, you might have to
better.
lower the mic gain. There we go. That's better. But nonetheless, yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know everything about Jeff Albert, but I'm kind of indifferent. I have to be in that regard. And my thought is I need to hear his hitting philosophy, which is, why I never gave really a strong opinion in general of who I want the next hitting coach to be, because I really don't know what certain guys' hitting philosophies are. Like everyone was saying, Alfonso potentially or Manny Ramirez, and I'm like, they would be, good hires based off of their playing resumes, but playing resumes does not equate to good coaching resumes. So I needed to wait and see, no matter what, in terms of the hitting philosophy. But with that said, all I could say is the Mets have had a lot of success as of lately with their guys in the minor leagues. There's obviously been a problem once these guys come up from the minor leagues to the big leagues, and we know why that is, which is a good thing. There and just looking at certain opinions from Cardinals fans and Astros fans, just because of the fact that he was in those organizations as the minor league hitting coordinators at certain points, kind of mixed results there. Cardinals fans seem to use him as a scapegoat at certain times, but there's this Reddit thread talking about how he was really good and he didn't get enough credit. So I'm not sure, honestly, what to make of that. And then I mean, with the Astros, he was there for the development of a couple of guys that ended up being star players for the team. So I'm kind of indifferent, but Matt, I'll let you jump in with your thoughts.
I mean, same kind of like you. Like, I'm indifferent because at the end of the day, like, cool. What's it called? This is the guy that Stearns chose to go with. But at the end of the day, we need to see how his success translates into the major league. Because I mean, even with Jeff Albert, right? Like, because to be honest, like, right as this news broke, like, and listen, I'm not too in depth with like the lower levels of the Mets, systems, more so with players, but not in terms of more like coaches, in terms of people who are overseeing the development of things like like the hitting and the pitching. So I didn't even know that Jeff Albert was actually in the Mets system until like 10 minutes ago. But he has been here since November 15, 2022. So he was a Billy Epler hiring, and since then he was hired to oversee as the Mets director of hitting through, I guess, the whole minor league system. Which I guess if we're just going off that, it is a good sign because, like you pointed out, Evan, the main difference between the top prospects in terms of Mets hitters is and the trend that we've seen over the past like 3-4 years is they look very good down in the minor leagues, But then once you get to the major leagues, they've kind of had trouble adapting to major league pitching. So, and I mean, that kind of goes for all guys, Alvarez, Beatty, Mauricio, Vientos, even with guys like recently, you look at Carson Bench, who's played really well down in the minor leagues, Ryan Clifford, who they acquired at the 2023 trade deadline. Even a guy like Jet Williams, even though we're not too high on him, he has looked decent so far in the minor leagues. And then even then, like you pointed out, how he worked in the Cardinals minor league system and then the Astros minor league system. I mean, he had worked in the Astros minor league system from, I believe, about 2013 to 2017. So, like you said, he had worked with some of their top prospects at the time, guys like Carlos Correa, Alex Bregman, George Springer, even Yordan Alvarez, even though that was for a shorter period of time. So if we're just going based off the resume of what he's done in the past and even what he's done recently in terms of the Mets minor league system, it does look like a good hire. But at the end of the day, like you said, we need to see what his hitting philosophy is. And like I said before, we need to see how that translates from minor league system to now major league system, because it's a whole totally different ballgame when you're going from minor league pitching to major league pitching. So far, if we're just going, like I said, based off resume, it looks like a good hire, but we need to see, how it translates. The other thing that I kind of find interesting, and this just goes off the Jeff Passan tweet, and this is the second part because it said,
Yeah, I was about to read this one, but
yeah,
go.
I mean, if you want to, you can go ahead with that.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, this concerns me though about it, which I didn't read in the thread here, but um, list whatever Albert's age, his resume, whatever says New York's farm system is teaming with good young bats, and the plan is to have Albert run hitting at the major league level and complement him with another hitting coach. And all I could say with this is I am okay with it if the other hitting coach they're bringing in is labeled assistant hitting coach, or like Albert's listed head hitting coach and the other one's listed hitting coach, whatever you want to do for that. But all I know is there needs to be a clear cut, okay, Albert is the leading hitting coach, because like people have said, there's plenty of teams that have two hitting coaches. So I don't hate having multiple coaches. I mean, we talk about it all the time with with scouting and everything, how you need a lot of scouts. But with this, it can't be a co-hitting coach thing. It needs to be one guy's the top dog, the other guy is just another voice. And the most important thing is you need guys that have the same hitting philosophy, because and that means that Albert should be helping pick the other hitting coach, because you can't have this whole two guys with different philosophy thing again. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble and it's going to be the same issues that we just saw.
Yeah, 100%. I fully agree with that. I share the same sentiment as you. Like at first when I saw that they're gonna look for co-hitting coaches, I was like a little bit like, eh. But the more I think about it, and like what you were saying, like I fully agree with you. If Jeff Albert's gonna be the top hitting guy and he's gonna be like oversee everything, which is like what we're seeing out of the Jeff Passan tweet, I'm cool with them hiring, kind of like an assistant for him, because at the end of the day, like Albert's gonna need help. Like it's kind of hard to coach every single guy at the same time. Like you're gonna need different guys, to help with like a different section of players and stuff like that. So, like I said, as long as Albert's the top guy and you're bringing in, the other guy as an assistant guy to kind of oversee and help him with coaching, then I'm fully fine with it. And the other thing is, like you said, like if you're going to bring in another guy, you need to make sure that that guy has the same type of hitting philosophy as a Jeff Albert, because we just gone through, the past 2, 3, 4 years of, guys like Chavez and Barnes trying to work together. And we've seen that it didn't work because Chavez has more of an old school dinosaur philosophy, while meanwhile, Jeremy Barnes has this more innovative and newer type of hitting philosophy. And when you try to coach a large group of players two different ways, it doesn't mix. And then that's why we've seen over the past 3, 4 years this kind of inconsistent offense that this Mets team has had, because you can't mess, or you can't mix two different type of hitting philosophies together. You need to have one clear set vision, and then you could fully implement that into the team and the large group of guys that we have on this roster. So like I said, I'm cool with it as long as Albert's the top guy. The bottom guy is going to be more the assistant. And for me, like you said, they need to have the same type of hitting philosophy.
Yeah, and in terms of just, listing some underlying metrics to highlight Albert a little bit more. This is from a Reddit thread from a Cardinals fan 4 years ago, just talking about, where they ranked in certain regards, but goes on to talk about how in 2019 the team was ninth in launch angle, which is very important to me because Eric Chavez did not believe in launch angle, 14th in barrel rate, seventh in whiff rate, 11th in chase, sixth in hard hit, ninth in solid contact. In 2020, they were 12th in launch angle, 25th in hard hit rate, which scares me, ninth in chase rate, 21st in barrel rate, ninth in whiff rate, and then third in solid contact percentage. In 2021, they were third in launch angle, 13th in barrel percentage, 12th in hard hit, 15th in chase, 10th in whiff, and then 8th in solid contact. The thing that you could hang your hat on, I think, with this is at least it looks like this is a guy that believes in launch angle, which again is very important to me. And to me, I don't know how much stock I take into the other metrics because a lot of that is talent based as well. Because, what have the Cardinals had? Because I see someone talking about in the thread how, you know, he was helped to like guys like Tyler O'Neill and Harrison Bader, which those are fine MLB players, but you're telling me you get him to work with like Pete Alonso if he comes back, or Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor, and gets those guys to actually pull the ball. That's a lot different than Tyler O'Neill and Harrison Bader pulling the ball. I think that goes without saying. So I don't know. To me, I just need to hear his hitting philosophy. I just need to see it implemented before I could do anything. I'm just so indifferent about this hire. And to me, I would have probably gone in a different direction if it were up to me, but I'm not going to sit here and, rip on the hire or, sit here and celebrate the hire. I'm kind of just like, let's see what happens. Whatever happens, happens with it, right? I mean, Carson, friend of the show, of course, just tweeted out the Cardinals being one of the top pull teams with Albert as the hitting coach, actually being the top team at one point. So I don't know if that's throughout his entire tenure or if that's just, one season. But either way, that is good news to me if that's the case. But I just need to see it play out. And as long as he does not argue with fans on social media, and as long as, like I said, the two hitting coaches have the same philosophy, I could get on board with this. That's all that I ask.
Yeah, 100%. I think the other thing that kind of intrigues me because, and I remember, I think I saw this thread around maybe August of this year. It was sometime that it was either late July or early August, and it was basically saying, the difference in hitting philosophy between the minor league system and the major league system since Stearns has gotten into the president of baseball operations back in the offseason 2023. And it basically said that, during that time when Stearns has worked within the minor league system and how he's worked to improve it, he was the thread was basically saying that, the keys through the Mets hitting philosophy down in the minor leagues was more, pulling the ball, launch angle, barrel rate, hard hitting rate. So if we're now going to carry over that into the major league system, I'm like I said, I'm fully behind that because again, those are the type of hitting philosophies and those are the type of key fundamentals that teams that win and are good now in modern day major leagues and in modern day major league baseball. Those are the type of fundamentals that they use now instead of this putting the ball on the ground, looking to take the ball to the opposite field. Even though those things like taking the ball to the opposite field, they can be important in certain situations, but your main hitting tools and your main hitting fundamentals within the philosophy should be hitting or pulling the ball, hitting the ball hard, and launch angle because those are the things that when you stick to those fundamentals, those are the thing that you're going to have a lot more damage with those fundamentals. So like I said, I'm fully on board with that. And like you said, I'm indifferent right now with the hire because, like I said, even though the whole what's it called, the whole resume looks decent behind what he's done in the past. Like I said before, I still need to see how it translates from minor league system to the major leagues. And the other thing I'm not skeptical, but the thing I'm kind of interested in is who they're going to hire and target as that secondary or assistant hitting coach. I mean, one of the guys in my mind, if they're just looking to translate and take some guys from the minor league system to the major league system, I mean, JP Arancibia, the guy who has been the hitting coach down in Syracuse, I wonder if that's a guy who they maybe look to interview to see if they can promote him as to, the assistant hitting coach on the Mets team. And if not, I do wonder what kind of guys they're going to interview from outside of the Met system to see who can maybe complement Albert in that role. But I wouldn't mind Aaron Sebia if they're going to promote him as an assistant coach. But we'll see what happens, and we'll see who Stearns are going to hire, because I mean, obviously they're going to interview a ton of guys, and obviously like you said, the hope is that Albert at least has some influence, and I anticipate that he is going to have some influence over who the next assistant hitting coach will be for him.
Yeah, that's really the most important thing. And while you were talking here, I actually found a video clip of him talking on a podcast. This is from the Blast Motion podcast, and I'm going to play the clip on stream right now.
The bat speed and power, in particular for the swing, is important, but that bat speed and power has to happen in a very specific time frame and a very specific position. So I don't think you can have position independent from speed or power or quickness. You have to manage all of those variables in a way that optimizes performance for the hitter on the field, which is ultimately the most important outcome. So I don't think you can train just for bat speed or just for quickness or one for power. They're all components or ingredients to this outcome that you want to see on the field.
That sounded like music to my ears, honestly. And again, it does not mean that it's going to be successful. I don't know. I have no clue, but that at least is encouraging to me, hearing a guy talking about utilizing a player's hit tools to their advantage, not forcing everyone to be the same hitter. Because I've even said it before about Chavez, where I don't disagree with the sentiment that you need certain guys that are able to hit the ball to the opposite field. But when you have a guy like Francisco Alvarez, where his main threat is his power tools, why are you minimizing that by making him hit to the opposite field? So it's nice to hear a guy actually talk about maximizing a player's tools versus, yeah, we're going to go with one approach and, you have to do this and it's my way or the highway type thing. And Carson confirming pretty much what he tweeted here, that the Cardinals are first in pull fly ball rate during the time span with him there. And honestly, I mean, I'd have to fact check this, but if I'm not mistaken too, has it yeah, I'm not wrong at all that I don't know how much of a coincidence it is, but Nolan Arenado in 2022 had a 293 average, a 358 on base, 533 slugging, 891 OPS. The year after fell off to a 266 average, 315 on base, 459 slugging, and a 774 OPS, and has been declining since. And again, I don't know if that's just a coincidence because of father time or if that's in correlation with Albert not being in the organization, but it is something of note.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even just looking here because I found another tweet from Sleeper Mets, and this was the Cardinals' offensive stats during his tenure from 2019 to 2022. And 2019, 245 batting average, 321 OBP. 2020, 250, 322 OBP. 2021, 262 batting average, 308 OBP. And then 2022, his final year, 252 batting average, 324 OBP. And just like you mentioned with the Nolan Arenado stats, how he looked very good during his tenure there. Paul Goldschmidt, and I know Paul Goldschmidt's a Hall of Famer, and he's a great hitter regardless, but he was also there during that tenure where Paul Goldschmidt won his only MVP as a St. Louis Cardinal. So again, like I said, like the resume, it looks good. It speaks for itself, but again, we need to see how it translates.
Yeah, again, and I'm not telling you that he's going to be the savior, and I don't think it's fair to say anything about this, that he was the hitting director for the last 2 years, and the last 2 years our offensive sucked. He's the lone savior. Sounds like to me should have been fired. He was doing the minor league hitting stuff, not the major league stuff. And there's been a lot of positives, and I'm not telling you it's been perfect down in the minor leagues, but there has been positives. And like we talked about at the start, there are a lot of guys that have been good in the minor leagues, they come to the major leagues and it's not good. Like, Brett Beatty hits a home run his first game, and I don't know if it happened, but it seems like Chavez said, "Yeah, we don't do that around here." But again, I'm not going to tell you that he's the savior. I'm not going to tell you that this is a slam dunk great hire. I do not know. I simply don't know, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I do know. But there are positives to it, and I'm sure you could find negatives to the hire. All that matters to me is that he actually believes in pulling the ball, which again, this tells me he does. And yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he's
from
from the
the
century.
century, so upgrade at face value at the very least.
The other thing I like from that video that you brought up and you posted on here was the fact that he was talking about how all the variables kind of work together. So you can't just change one thing. Everything kind of has to work in a tandem. And I like the fact that how he brought up positioning in the box and and bat speed and like hard hit rate, and that's kind of important because we've kind of seen even from the stats that we've seen with the Eric Chavez offense, we've seen that the Mets more kind of sit deeper in the batter's box, and even though that they're one of the top teams in terms of swing rate and what's it called like swings in terms of miles per hour. Again, we've seen how their more attack direction is more to the opposite field. Well, again, if you're standing higher in the batter's box and you take that fast swing rate, again, that's just going to lead more to harder hit rate, pulling the ball, and launch angle, which again is the type of fundamentals and the type of philosophy that we want from our hitting coach. So again, like I said, all these factors so far, at least on paper, it seems like a good hire. But again, like we've been constantly repeating throughout this first 22 minutes of this episode, it's about how it translates because Jeff Albert can talk a good game and we could like his philosophy, but if it doesn't translate well, then it's not going to work. So, like I said, on paper, it looks like a decent hire, but we need to see how it, translates.
Yeah, actions speak louder than words at the end of the day. So we'll see how that goes. But I don't want to talk about this too much more. I do want to get into the main topic that is happening today, which I don't even know how much we're going to get through this. We might have to do a two-parter for this, considering how many guys played for the Mets. We are going to do player grades. And did you have the tier list? Because I know you wanted to do it that way, but if not, we could just run down the roster and give our grades that way.
No, I didn't. I wanted to do. I didn't have time though, so we could just run it down.
All right, so we'll do it that way. I do gotta pull up the Mets roster from this past season to get every single player that played for them. The question is, do we start with the pitchers or do we start with the
Oh,
hitters?
actually, you know what? I kind of I looked it up. I found the tier list. So if you just go on Google and you look up Mets roster
Share your
tier
screen
list
if you got it pulled
2025,
up.
it's the first thing that comes up.
Share your screen if you got that pulled up.
Yeah,
Let's
I
do
got it
that.
pulled up. Okay. Give me 1 second.
So,
Uh,
I'll read some comments while that's going on. Albert has a whole website on hitting research. I wonder if he posted on his Instagram story every 5 seconds. We're gonna have to find out. But like I said, hopefully he's not gonna instigate with fans at the very least. Can't with that. But there we go. Is this everyone that played? Oh yeah, Paul Blackburn's there. It's gotta be.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like everyone. I don't think we have Zach Pop on here, but
Well, we'll
um,
grade the gone but not forgotten. Is there any way to zoom in on that a little bit more?
I don't think so.
Yeah, like try going to the top right and see if you could zoom in, like where the three dots are on the browser. Just you should be able to.
Oh, there we go.
There
Okay.
we go. All right, let's do that. All right, perfect. So, did you want to add an F tier? Because I mean, the first guy I think is gonna go into the F tier. To be honest with you,
Yeah, let me just see how. 'Cause I never really used these before. So how do
just
you?
click the settings and then click add. Click the settings
Oh,
on one of the D tier.
oh, okay.
Yeah, and then add row below, and then just
Okay. Okay. There we go.
let's make it an F tier there.
No, we'll just say ass because There were some players that were just plain ass.
I mean, could we just put the first? Yeah, let's
The
just.
king of ass, Paul Blackburn.
Yeah, do we even like want to address anything with Paul Blackburn, or should we just move on? Because I don't think there's much to say. The only positive I could possibly give is he 8 innings and his first game back was good. Like that's the only positive thing I could say about Paul Blackburn.
Yeah, I changed it for Carson. So the final tier will be wolf shit because I think it's just it works.
Yeah, that
But
works.
I mean, yeah, apart from Paul Blackburn's first start this year, where he pitched 6 shutout innings against the LA Dodgers, I mean, other than that, he was complete shit, and he basically was responsible for starting the collapse because, again, for some reason, we just had to take out Clay Holmes in that start versus Tampa, and then Mets lost that game, and then pretty much everything fell apart after that. So yeah, Paul Blackburn can be king of wolf shit for this tier list.
Yeah, I think we could just move on. Like, there's not much to add to that. Huascar Brazaban. I, d- I don't know. To me, I think we could go. I'm either going D plus for his grade this year, or I'm going C minus because there were like early on in the season, he was so effective for this team, filling in the openers and everything when we need him to. But the end of the season was just so rough for him. He finished with a 3.57 ERA, and like he was just considering how nails he was early on, and for the fall off to be the way it was. I don't know, like I guess I'll go C tier because he did save a lot of innings early in the season for this team.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would go C tier as well. I mean, look, for me, like you stated, like Brosman early on, like he was so valuable for this bullpen early on because, like you said, he ate a lot of innings and it was a lot of productive innings as well. It wasn't just like he was being thrown out there as the mop up guy. He actually contributed a lot to this bullpen early on, and he saved a ton of arms early. Now, I mean, he saved a ton of other arms, but towards the middle part of the year and towards the end of the year, his arm was just cooked. And I mean, he came up here towards the end a little bit, and again, he had some decent outings, but again, just overall, it was a major drop off to what we saw from earlier in the season. Where I mean, if we were grading him on his first half, I mean, you could put Brosman up an S because he was just that dominant. He was that good.
Yeah.
But like you said, because of that middle portion of the season and kind of a little bit of the end part of the season, his stuff just completely dropped off. And I mean, again, like what is his final line at the end of the day? He finished with a 3.57 ERA, which is not terrible, but again, the second half inflated that ERA a ton.
Yeah, like Carson said, I mean, we tried to kill him, so it's got to be C tier. Jose Budo, what do we even do with him? Because he was here for half the season, and he wasn't the same butt man he was last year. Like my problem with him was he was just never able to get the top of the lineup out, and it it was just frustrating because this is where it's hard to do these pitching grades, like especially the bullpen, because some of these guys, it's not even their fault. It just they were put in stupid situations by the manager at certain points. Carson thinks D tier. To me,
I
it's
agree
either
with
C or
Carson.
D tier.
I agree. I put him in D.
Yeah, we could put him in that hard D tier. Pause. But yeah, I think D is a fair spot just because he was only here half the season either way. Griffin Canning. Okay. Is it crazy to say I'm putting Canning in the B tier just based on expectations? Because I think that's what you have to do these grades on as well, is the expectations going into the year, which is also why Budo's in D tier. Like the fact that we expect him to be reliable, he ended up getting traded. He's that low. Griffin Canning, I don't think anyone expected to be what he ended up being.
No, I fully agree. I mean, I know you said it was crazy to maybe put him in B, but to me, that was where I was going to put him because, again, like we had zero to little expectation when we fully signed him. I mean, obviously, we trusted a bit in Stearns because his full philosophy it more revolves on finding, those under the radar gems in the pitching market. And I mean, again, like I said, we didn't have too much expectation with Griffin Canning. Like we thought at best he would be a long man for this team. But again, like he ate a lot of valuable innings for this team early on in the season. And I mean, there was a ton of games where, I mean, even though like, because I remember specifically, I believe it was the final series of the Cubs game or the Cubs series in May. I believe it was May 11th. And the Mets offense was non-existent in that game. I believe they only put up 2 runs. They won the game 2-1. And Canning, I believe, he threw 6 innings of 1, and he only gave up the 1 home run to, I believe, Pete Crow Armstrong. So I mean, and there was plenty of points where there were like Canning was just, he was giving this team a lot of vital length. He was putting them in a position to win a lot. And again, because again, like we stated, like we didn't have a ton of expectations from coming to this year, but Canning, I mean, he fully just blew by those expectations. I mean, he sort of kind of dropped off a little bit towards June because I mean he had those. I remember he had that one rough outing against the Rays at Citi Field. But I mean, even his last start where he blew out his Achilles, like he was pitching very well in that Braves game, and it sucks. I mean, obviously we don't know how the rest of the season would have went if Canning stayed healthy, but I mean, he was a big loss for them, towards the back end of the season, which is just, it's crazy to say when you think about it, like going into the season, if we were going to go back to the offseason, if we were going to say that Griffin Canning was going to be a valuable part of this Mets pitching staff, we would have thought, we were freaking crazy and taking drugs. But I mean, he was that good for us. So I mean, yeah, he goes in B tier for me.
By the way, I hate to do this to you, but I just found a tier list that has a few more players. I'm going to send in the private chat, and let's just put the guys that we already ranked in those tiers, because this one has, like, the one that you have up right now, for some reason, it's Drew Smith. Like, I don't know what we're doing here with Drew Smith on the freaking tier list, but let's just do that before we're in too deep. Pause.
Okay.
Carson saying fly high, Griffey poo. Honestly, I would not hate if they brought him back if he's, healthy in the middle of the season and they wanted to put him on a minor league deal. I would, or just even put him in the bullpen, whatever they want to do.
Did you send it? Because I didn't get it.
It's in the private chat now on
StreamYard. Okay. I thought you. Okay, my bad.
No, you're good. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with putting Canning in the C tier. Like, to me, based on the expectations like we're talking about, like that to me is why you got to put him higher than that.
All right. So Budo. Oh, hold on. Let me add Wolf shit.
Yeah, let's do that.
So. Okay, so Budo was in D.
We had Brazoban in C. He's in the second row.
Brazoban was in C.
And
Blackburn was in Wolf shit, and then
Canning in B.
Griffin Canning, where are you?
He's in the third row, towards like the middle a bit, between Alvarez and Sanger. There we go. All right. Sean Manaea next.
I think he might have to go in Wolf shit. He was that bad.
Yeah, it has to be the case. Like, I can't go higher. I'm sorry. Like, the only justification to put him higher is he had 2 good outings, and both of them were when he piggybacked Clay Holmes. Like, that's the only argument to put him higher. But based on the contract that they gave him, based on the expectations, they couldn't rely on him for half the season, and they couldn't rely on him at all because when he did come back, he was just not good.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. I mean, if we're going to hold, like, Canning to that same standard of what we were expecting based on expectations, like, again, when we brought back Sean Manaea, we were top edge of bullshit because but yeah, like I was saying, like, if we're going off the standard of expectation, like, again, like when we brought back Sean Manaea, we expected him to lead this rotation and at least be the number one, or at least co-number one along with Kodai Senga. And I mean, Kodai Senga, that might be a little preview of where we probably put him in this tier list as well. But yeah, I fully agree with, like, he had 2 good starts. I mean, the Kansas City one, that was one. But again, like you said, those two good starts that he had, they were based off piggyback. And I mean, even then, like, because the weird thing about Manaea, right, was like he had some starts where like through the first 2 to 3 innings, he looked really good, and he looked like the Sean Manaea that we saw last year. But it just again like with the elbow, his velocity started to drop, his control started to drop, and then we start to see him be the Sean Manaea where because I mean he finished I believe with like a 5.6 ERA. So again, like I said, if we're just going based off expectation, Manaea he pitched that poorly. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't want to put him there, but he has to go on Wolf shit.
My God, just looking at this list coming up, there are so many Wolf shit candidates. It's not even funny. This is not one though. Juan Soto, and I'm going A tier only because of the fact that there is something to be said about the lack of clutch moments early on. But I can tell you right now, this team does not win any game. They genuinely might have 5 wins in August if it wasn't for the way Juan Soto played, and they were probably out of a playoff spot sooner. It's got to be an A tier though, just because of the slow start and the fact that there were times with runners in scoring position. It just was not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a chance like we could put Soto between S and A tier, I think that's the best place for him. But I fully agree with you because of the so-called lack of clutch hitting. Because there was a ton of times where he came up, especially earlier in the year. Because I know towards the end of the year when he started to come up with guys on base, he started started converting and started getting those clutch hits. But again, like because of the lack of clutch hitting and because of his very poor March and April and even parts of May, I think you have to drop Soto a little bit to the A tier. But like I said, like if there was a chance to where you could put him between S and A, I think that's the best place. That's the best place you would put him. But like I said, in the points we just went over, I think S tier makes sense for Juan Soto. And also, let's not forget, like the guy was he was 2 stolen bases away from a 40-40 season, which is just insane to think about. When again, like I believe Juan Soto going to this year, I believe his career high in stolen bases was either 11 or 12. So the fact that he almost had 40 stolen bases is just crazy.
Well, let's put it this way: like if we were doing regular grades, S is obviously A plus or above, and for me, if we were doing regular grades, I'd give him probably an A or an A minus. So I think that A is just a fair spot. The next
Yeah.
2 guys, I honestly just want to make an incomplete tier. Like, I don't think it's fair to give Jonah Tong and Brandon Sproat grades. Like, I can't do it. Like, there's not enough of a sample size there to throw them in a different tier.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. And kind of since we're just going to put them both here, I think we can kind of tackle both of them together. I mean, listen, with Sproat, he came up. I've obviously out of the top was it prospects in terms of pitching arms. He was the last guy to come up. And listen, Sproat, I believe he had decent moments, and then there was some moments where he kind of didn't look great. But again, like you kind of expect that from a guy who was making his major league debut, especially later in the year, and especially when the pressure was so high on this Mets team because they had to make the playoffs. So I believe Sproul was decent. Like again, if we were going to put him in, I believe if we're just gonna like letter him, I would put him in C because I think he was just kind of decent. With Tong again, like this just comes back to the fact that, and again, we stated this before many times throughout the season. He simply wasn't ready. Listen, he dominated Double A. I believe he had around a 1.30 ERA down there in Double A. He came up to Triple A. He only had 2 starts. Both those starts were very good. And then I mean, he came up here and it's clear that he wasn't ready. He needs to add another pitch. And like we stated before, like I think the biggest concern out of Jonah Tong coming from the minor league system was the lack of control he can sometimes have on his pitches. And we saw that hurt him a lot, especially in his short tenure, when he pitched a couple games up here in the major leagues, because there was a lot of times where, he would just completely lose the strike zone. And then, he kind of had to just put a couple pitches in the strike zone and then he would give up some hard contact. So, but again, I fully agree. I think just based off, what they showed, I think you just have to give him an incomplete.
I honestly think you could even do it for Dom Hamill, who's next, which you can maybe put him in like C or B tier if you want to be nice because he gave a scoreless inning and that always helps. But I don't know. There's not enough for me to give a grade there. Jose Azocar, I'm sorry. I underratedly could not stand this guy just for how many times he was caught uh just between first and second, just sleeping. I'll go C or D tier because he's depth. He wasn't expected to do anything. And he did have a couple of hits actually. Like he did contribute something, but I don't know. Like, I think it would be stupid to go any higher than that, but I'd probably lean towards D tier.
Yeah, 100%. I fully agree. I mean, listen, like you said, he had some good hitting moments because he did get a couple hits while he was up here, up with the major league roster. But again, like you said, and he also did have some. He was at least reliable defensively. Not that he was great or anything, but again, I think the biggest thing that deteriorates his grade for me was the fact that there was at least two times where he was caught sleeping at first base and he got picked off. So and again, I think he even had a couple more bad base running decisions. So for me, again, just D tier for Azokar.
I'm not going crazy. That's Genesis Cabrera, right? Like
Yeah, that's Cabrera.
yeah, I guess I don't even know. I guess C tier. Like he was okay in certain outings, and some outings he was garbage. Like I really don't know where else to grade him. I just think C tier's fine just because he 8 innings when this team needed him to, especially when Minter went down and this bullpen did not have a lefty but him. And, again, he was expected to be a minor league call up anyway. That's just my opinion. Like I'm okay if you want to go lower, but for me, I think C tier's fine because of the fact that, like I said, he ate some innings when Minter went down and they need him to.
I'd agree. I think C tier is fine. Listen, like you said, like he had good moments here, or not good moments, but at least he was decent. He had decent moments, and then there was some outings where he was just flat out just not good. So I mean, yeah, and I think what he was only up here for like a couple games too. So it's not really like a large sample size to go off either. So yeah, he can go C tier.
Dicky Lovelady, they just couldn't get away from him. Just put him in wolf shit. Like I couldn't stand watching him pitch every single time, and the fact that he kept coming back just drove me insane. Do you
Yeah,
have
he
anything to
was.
add, or
Nah, he was not good. I mean, there's not much to add. I mean, his name is Dick, and he sucks cock. So there you go.
Austin Warren, on the other hand, I actually think was decent at times, and I kind of wish they gave him more of a look at certain points because, to be honest with you, I thought he was really effective. Would honestly, I agree with Carson. I'd go A tier, honestly. As crazy as it sounds, what the fuck were we expecting from Austin Warren? Did we expect anything? And in 9 innings of work, posted a .96 ERA, 8 innings when this team desperately needed it. And how about that 4 inning outing against the Giants to save the bullpen as well? Like, I'm sorry, I gotta go A or B tier.
Yeah, I mean, there's a serious conversation for him to be A tier because again, like he wasn't up here for that long. He only pitched in 5 games, but again, like he gave this team nine and a third innings of work. Then he only gave up one run in that nine and a third innings of work. So, and like you said, there was a couple times where he did end up saving the bullpen, and he contributed heavily, like you pointed out to that Giants start or that Giants outing where he came out of the bullpen and pitched 4 scoreless innings. So, I mean, yeah, it's not crazy. So yeah, I'll agree. We'll put Austin Warren in A.
Now we got Justin Garza. I just wolf shit. Like he was, he just wasn't great, Big Cat.
Yeah, no, he's not good.
Um, why am I drawing a blank on who this is? I actually, I'm actually drawing a blank on this one. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I don't know. He looks like Tommy
Kevin
Hunter,
Herget. It's
but
Kevin Herget.
oh, Kevin Herget. Kevin Herget, that was a soldier.
Kevin Herget was a soldier at certain points. I mean, he had like one rough outing in there. I'm willing to put him in like either C or D tier. Like he was fine, but he
Yeah,
was
I'll
a
put it.
soldier in his last outing, so I think C tier is fair.
Yeah, I'll put C tier for him. I mean, look, like Herget again. That's another guy we had no expectations of. He was just one of those random call ups that the Mets had to have between like every single either between every single day or every single 2 days. And I mean, for me, there was plenty of times where Herget just came in, saved the bullpen, and yeah, I mean, he was fine for me. Like I said, he had maybe one bad or two bad outings, but other than that, I thought he was completely fine. So yeah, C tier works.
This is Alex Carrillo, right? Like I'm
I
pretty
think so.
sure this
Yeah.
is Alex Carrillo, and if it is wolf shit, like below wolf shit, if it's possible, honestly, because
Yeah.
that
Korea.
outing that he had against the Reds was just unforgivable.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to add on that. I mean, again, another guy who just we didn't have any expectation of. Came up, Mendoza for some reason had to use him for 2 innings in that first start of the All Star break, and Mets ended up losing that game, lost that series, and ultimately the reason why they didn't make the playoffs was because they didn't have the tiebreaker against the Cincinnati Reds. So there you go. You could point to Alex Carrillo being a reason why the Mets didn't make the playoffs this year.
Carson's comment. Um, this is Colin Poche, right? Yeah,
I
it is.
think so. Yeah.
I confirmed that. Another wolf shit tier. His only outing here was just not good. So let's just not even waste time. Same with
Yeah.
Jonathan Pintaro, legit garbage. But I also do feel bad for Pintaro because he should not have been called up. So
No.
uh Noah McLean though, this is our first S
S.
tier. This is an
Yep.
easy S tier, no question about it. Uh the only thing, and it's not to his fault, the only thing that sucks is that he wasn't here earlier because legit saved this starting rotation. And if this team made the playoffs, he would have been the game one starter for a guy that only threw what 9 or 10 starts.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, the guy came up in August. There was a not so much there was a ton of pressure on him, but there was a ton of pressure in terms of the situation of where the Mets were, and he stepped up. And again, like we had decent expectations for him, but he completely just over just like I said, like what our expectations were of McLean, he completely just ran through them. And I mean, like you said, like he was our best pitcher. You could even make an argument throughout the year. I mean, apart from Edwin Diaz, if you just include starters, there's a I don't even, and I, again, I don't even think there's an argument, but you could say he was our best pitcher this year in terms of starters. He was that good when he came up, and like I said, there was a ton of pressure of where the Mets were at that time because again, they just needed any type of length they could get out of any starter, and he just came in through innings, through quality innings, which is important. I mean, his swing and miss stuff, his strikeout rate was incredible. I mean, yeah, Noel McLean was an S tier. And like you said, if the Mets did make the playoffs, he would have been the game one starter against the Dodgers. And I mean, going into next year, unless the Mets acquire a quote unquote ace in the offseason this year, he's the opening day starter for next year.
Oh, easily, yeah. And even if they do, like, I wouldn't hate if they just gave him the ball opening day either way, and then just had the new guy get
Yeah.
the second game. Results, man. Mr. Blue Circles himself, the All Star. He was an All Star, so that means he's got to be S tier, right? All jokes
Unfortunately, yeah.
aside, just I have to go. I don't even know. Do you go C or D tier? Because that first half was good, obviously, but when they needed him most, he shit himself. I just
Yeah, I mean, I can see an argument for okay. So the reason I could see an argument for C tier is because he was that good in the first half to where, and I mean, again, like there was plenty of time, especially early on the season. Like I believe his two starts against the Dodgers, what the City Field one, he went out there, he pitched 7 and 2/3 inning. I believe what he only gave up 1 run or 2 runs, and then there was another one in LA where I think he went 7 scoreless or something like that. I mean, he was very good for this team early on, but his second half was just so bad. And I mean, that's where I see the argument with the D tier because his second half was so bad, and there was so many short outings from him. Like especially the Padres outing, the game that we went to, and then that Marlins start where he only pitched an inning and a third and gave up 8 runs. So I can see an argument for both. I mean, if you want to be nice, you could put C, but like I said, if we want to put him in D tier, like I don't have an argument for against that either.
yeah, Carson saying C tier because Tale of Two Halves always equates to that. But for me, the
Yeah.
problem honestly is the fact that he was horrible when they needed him most. Like that's the problem with putting him in C tier for me. I'm willing to do it, but if it gets crowded C tier, we'll move him
You
down.
can put him down. Yeah. All right. So for now, we'll have him in C tier.
Kranich, he ate a tub of ice cream, watched David Wright, didn't he?
He did.
I'm willing to put him in either C or B tier. Like, they ran him into the ground. Like, I don't even fault him for the end when he had rough outings. They legit just killed this guy, and that's why he needed Tommy John.
Yeah, I mean, I can like you said, I can see an argument for both. I mean, like the first couple outings that he had out of the bullpen, like he was very good, and there was a couple times as well where he was, thrusted into some high leverage situations as well. Like I remember, what was it, the Astros series? I believe it was either I think it was the second game or the third game where he came in bases loaded, a 1 out, and he got out of that inning without giving up a run. And listen, his stuff was good early on, like good fastball, had a ton of swing and miss stuff. I mean, some of the location on his pitches, like his slider and his sweeper, weren't great as well. And that's why towards the end of his year, that's why we start to see him kind of get hit hard a little bit. So yeah, this is kind of one of the weird ones. I mean, he probably either fits like a B minus or a C plus tier, but I mean, I'm feeling a little generous. I like Max Kranich, so we'll slide him in B tier.
That's the same situation with Peterson, where we'll move him down if it gets crowded. Brooks Raley's an S tier. Signed him mid-season, and he was pretty much perfection outside of that one outing against the Mariners, which sucks because that could have been the difference in this team making the playoffs or not. But I'm not going to sit here and ridicule him when someone else we're going to talk about soon contributed to that, who was just complete wolf shit, which again we'll talk about soon. But yeah, Brooks Raley was pretty much nails, a true patriot. We got to go S.
I mean, what is there more to say about Brooks Raley? He's a patriot. He's a true American. He's an American hero. He should be captain of Team USA for the World Baseball Classic this year. I mean, the guy came in, like you said, halfway through the year, off Tommy John surgery. And I know, like we were saying before, like we've stated this a ton during our podcast, they were a little bit careful with him because, I mean, again, like he was coming off Tommy John surgery, so it makes sense. But like you said, Evan, apart from that one bad outing against the Mariners, the guy was nails. I mean, every single time he was put into a high leverage spot, he came out of it. And yeah, I mean, S tier.
Tyler Rogers. I actually don't even know. Like B or C tier for me. Yeah, I'm leaning B.
Yeah. That's the weird thing about Tyler Rogers, and again, it comes back to the Mendoza point because there was plenty of times when Mendoza used him in the correct spots. Tyler Rogers actually looked good, and he would come out of scoreless innings. But every time Mendoza put him in a situation where there was runners on base, he would end up letting those inherited runners score. So again, like if we're just going based off everything, I would say maybe C, but I'm willing to give Rogers the benefit of the doubt because Mendoza put him in a ton of spots where it just didn't benefit him. So I'd go B for me.
And, when we have guys like Brazoban in C tier, like I feel like we kind of have to put Rogers in the B tier also.
The next two, though.
Gregory Soto. I'm sorry, wolf shit. Like, just where do we begin? Because you have the garbage throw that he made in, what was it, the San Diego game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, San Diego.
And then this guy had one job. Just get lefties out. You are here to get the Bryce Harpers and the Kyle Schwarbers of the world out. And he failed pretty much every single time he was asked to do it. He was always putting guys on base. And it sucks because I thought that it would have been nice to have him and Raley, and it sucks because Raley's the more reliable lefty, but they wanted to ease him back in, so Soto was the guy they had to use back-to-back days instead of Raley. I'm just excited for when it's AJ Minter and Brooks Raley next year because I cannot stand this with Gregory Soto. Wolf shit. Ryan Helsley, wolf shit. Just put him in the tier. I'll be back in a minute. Just go ahead and talk about these two guys.
Yeah, I mean, with Gregory Soto, again, like I had like a decent expectation for him when they first traded for him, just because he had been a decent, reliable lefty throughout his career. I mean, there was some points where he kind of struggled, but at least there was some points, like I said, where he was at least reliable. I mean, listen, he came to the Mets, and apart from maybe his first or second outing out of the bullpen, because I know his first outing against the Giants in San Francisco, he was lights out. I believe what he got, what was it, a perfect inning he got out of him? Maybe he gave up a walk, which again, it's not surprising because Gregory Soto just has horrible command of the strike zone. And again, I'll talk about a little bit more of that. But again, like Gregory Soto came in, and if Brooks Raley didn't come off the Tommy John surgery, I expect, and again, we didn't lose AJ. Well, if we didn't lose AJ Minter, we probably wouldn't have traded for Brooks Raley. I mean, again, sorry, we wouldn't have traded for Gregory Soto just because we would have, again, had Minter fully healthy and then signed Brooks Raley. So we wouldn't have traded for Gregory Soto. But again, if Raley wasn't hurt and he wasn't coming off Tommy John surgery, I would have expected him to be the number one lefty. But like what Evan stated, because he did, you kind of had to rely on Soto to be that number one lefty out of the bullpen. And I mean, the guy was just terrible. I mean, plenty of times where the guy was walking guys, couldn't control the strike zone. And then there was plenty of times where, he comes in a close game and just the game blows up because Gregory Soto comes into that inning. So he has to go to wolf shit. And then listen, Ryan Helsley, like, what is there more to say? Like, when we traded for him from St. Louis, he was supposed to be that dynamic 1-2 punch towards the back end of the bullpen with Edwin Diaz. And the guy was just garbage. He was awful. I mean, the guy had his tipping problem, just couldn't get any type of swing and miss stuff on his fastball. His secondary stuff, like his slider, was just terrible. Again, couldn't get any swing and miss stuff on there. Couldn't control it either. And I mean, just plenty of times where, you needed some big innings out of Ryan Helsley, or at least, a couple big outs out of Ryan Helsley, and he just couldn't come through. And even there was some points, like I believe in like late mid-September, there was some points where they tried to get, an inning of work out of Ryan Helsley, and he couldn't even finish the inning. So, and again, like for the expectation that we had of Ryan Helsley coming to New York to again, like I said, pair up with Edwin Diaz to be that strong 1-2 punch to finish out games out of the bullpen. I mean, the guy was just horrible.
Cool entrance, but yeah, just not good enough.
Yeah.
Here's a true soldier, though. Rico Garcia. I mean,
he has to go on S.
He's a soldier, and they never should have let him go. The fact that this team gave Ryan Stanek unlimited lives over keeping Rico Garcia was a disgrace, and I really do not care. I don't care if it's ridiculous. S tier is perfect for him.
100%. Rico Garcia was nails for this team. And I mean, again, I think he only had like 4 or 5 outings, but every time, he came out of that Mets bullpen, like I said, he was just nails. He threw strikes, he got outs. There was never really any long innings when he was there. And I believe, and I think he completed every single outing that he had. I don't think he ever had to be taken out of an inning that, he didn't start. So unless like the first inning, because obviously he could have started the second inning and they took him out, after he got 1 out or something. But yeah, Rico Garcia was just nails for this team. And like you said, I fully agree. Why the Mets decide to let him go, I'll never understand, because he was so good and so reliable for this team.
Did I just fuck up? Because I think, no, Rico Garcia, is he here? Did I get the wrong guy? I might have had the wrong guy there. Because
what was maybe this
that's
one? Rico Garcia?
That's Rico Garcia, yeah. I thought,
okay, so,
I don't know who I just confused him with. I'm not going to lie to you.
This is some random NPC.
Unless he's here twice by accident, I don't know.
No, but that doesn't look like the same guy. So
yeah, I just don't know who. They had way too many pitchers this year. I apologize.
Yeah, this is Rico Garcia. So
that one, yeah, I just figuring out. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's Jose Castillo. Okay, that's right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Jose. Okay. Yeah, I apologize to Rico Garcia to accidentally confuse you with this disgrace of a pitcher in yeah, I'm sorry. In Jose Castillo. Jose Castillo, okay, maybe I shouldn't say disgrace. He actually put up decent numbers. But either way, I don't know. He's kind of in the same boat as Genesis Cabrera for me a bit, where when this team needed a lefty, he was there, but I don't know, like C or D tier, whatever you want to do. I can't go wolf shit for him though, but he pissed me off.
Yeah, I think for me, I'd kind of put him in D tier just because he had a bit of a larger sample because I mean he was here for multiple stints, but he was here 3 separate times, I believe, or at least he was here 2 times. I remember that. So, but yeah, I mean listen, he wasn't great, but he wasn't shit either. I don't know, but like I said, just because he had a bit of a larger sample size compared to Genesis Cabrera, that's the only reason why I would put Cabrera in C and then leave him in D. I mean, just because I mean, like I said, there were some outings where he was decent, but then there was just some outings where again, like the guy would just completely lose control of the strike zone, and they have to take him out of innings. So yeah, I put him in D tier.
I know I sound like such a fucking casual this episode, but they are making the same exact face in the pictures. Like, I am sorry that I mixed the two of them up. They got the same beard length. I apologize.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, there were so many random relievers for this team. It's like, how the fuck can you match every single face?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this guy I could get. Big Boom AJ. Ah,
Yes.
just what a loss. I'm sorry I can't go S because of the injury. So I'd move
No.
him down to A.
A.
He
Okay.
was S tier when he was here, but just because he wasn't here for the whole season, unfortunately, I have to go A. But it's going to be electric when him and Brooks Raley are the two lefties in that bullpen next year.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with your point that okay, with the injury can knock him down to A tier, but I mean, like you said, like the guy was nails for this team. Every single time he had to come out of the bullpen and get some big and major outs for this team, he was able to do that. And I mean, the fact that the Mets lost him through injury, I mean, it was just such a bad miss because, like I said, there was a time, at least a short period of time, where the Mets really didn't even have any type of lefties in their bullpen. And like I said, if AJ Minter didn't get hurt and the Mets were just able to roll through the rest of the season with a lefty duo of Minter and Rayleigh back there, they probably did make the playoffs because there were some games where Gregory Soto blows that AJ Minter would have just gone through those innings. So yeah, Minter was such a bad loss for this team. So yeah, A tier is fine.
We still have so many more players to go. This is insane. Chris Davinsky, another guy like Austin Warren, where it's like, why did they not give this guy more of a shot? I'll go B tier because I think he was slightly worse than Austin Warren, but he was another soldier where I think he had a 3 or 4 inning outing towards the end of the season. But yeah, I appreciate his efforts.
Yeah, Davinsky was solid. And again, like this was a guy when I remember when we signed him in the offseason last year, we're like, I didn't have too many expectations from him, but again, just because he was around those Astros teams that won the World Series, and I believe he was a vital part of that 2017 Astros bullpen. So I thought, okay, maybe especially with the pitching lab, maybe you can get something out of him, like in these random times where the Mets need another reliever to call up. But I mean, there was a ton of times where the Mets called him up, and he was just again solid. Like again, he had maybe 1 or 2 bad outings, but again, like for a guy that we signed on a minor league deal, I mean, multiple times throughout this year, because there was, I mean, what he got DFA'd like I think like 4 or 5 different times. So, and he was just up and down this Mets entire system. So, but like I said, for me, like the guy was just solid out of the bullpen. So yeah, B tier is fine.
Brandon Waddell is the definition of C tier. Like, he was fine. He was there. He gave innings when this team needed it, and they needed him more than they should have. There were obviously rough outings there, but I don't fault him for how much they had to count on him.
I fully agree. I think there was times where the guy just had to be used as a bulk guy out of the bullpen because there was some starts where the starter just didn't have it in those games. Like I remember, what was it, the White Sox game we were at where Canning started and Canning got lit up by the White Sox, and was it Waddell came in? I believe he pitched the rest of the game, something
Yeah.
like that. I believe he maybe gave up only one, or he might even give up no runs either. So like you said, there was times where Waddell looked good, then there was sometimes where he just didn't look good. So yeah, C tier is fine.
Wolf shit. Put Sang in wolf shit. Um, just I I can't deal with the drama anymore with this guy. Like, I'm sorry, just when I saw that thing about heat fatigue, I lost my shit because I'm like, are we for real with this guy? I I don't have anything else to say. He's made of glass. They need a 6-man rotation for him, and I don't care about what he did early on in the season at certain points. He was not good enough when this team needed him most. He got injured and caused this team to need as many pitchers as they did. Um, yeah, wolf shit. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, if I was the only argument I would say where like if I could letter him per se is because his first half was at least decent, I could at least maybe move him up to D tier. But again, like you said, just because of the injuries and the fact that this Mets team had to compensate so much for him in terms of moving starters back a couple days or even moving starters up a day as well, and then having a 6-man rotation and then doing all this other type of bullshit to to kind of match and maximize Kodai Senga. And again, like the injury point, like again, like you stated with the heat fatigue thing, it's just like, and again, like this just goes again with expectation because we were expecting Senga to be, that 1A, 1B, quote unquote co-ace along with Shamanaya. I mean, again, like the guy's just not durable at all. And like I stated last post game, I mean, the guy's as durable as a cheaply made condom. So yeah, bullshit.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for me for why I can't grade him higher is if this team made the playoffs, he was not going to be on the roster.
True.
Nunez, they can never make me hate you. Put him in incomplete. I can't give him a grade. His arm was pretty much completely gone when he was pitching either way. Danny Young, you could also honestly throw an incomplete. Like both of these guys just had short-lived lives here this season to where I don't have much of an opinion.
Yeah, I mean, both of them like they fit. I mean, Danny Young, even though he wasn't great for this team early on, because there was a couple times where it was just like he came in games because he had to get some big lefty outs, and he kind of just didn't look great and he faltered. I mean, especially there was a couple innings where he had to come in to get some outs and he didn't even finish the inning. So, but then I mean, there was at one inning, I believe we were at that game against the Phillies where he struck out both Harper and Schwarber back to back on what 6, 7 pitches. So yeah, but again, like just not a large enough sample size so he can complete it. And again with Nunez, he was just hurt. And you could tell like right when he first came up, and we were excited when he first came up and he was activated off the IL, and it was just like you could tell right away like he just didn't have the same command of his stuff, didn't have the same zip on his stuff. So hopefully, because he did get Tommy John surgery, because he's going to miss, I believe, a large portion of next year, or at least the whole of next year. So hopefully, when he does come back, again, he could be a vital part of this bullpen, and similar to what we saw in large spurts in 2024. So yeah, like I said, with Nunez incomplete.
Justin Hagenman, D tier. I don't have much of an opinion. He gave some starts in a pinch. He struggled a decent amount at points, but again, it was kind of one of those things where he was supposed to be like the eighth or ninth starter for this team, maybe even lower. And he got forced into a situation because Miguel got hurt, because Frankie Montas got hurt, because of the fact that Sanga, Manaya, all these guys injured. So I don't fault him, but D tier just based on what we got.
Yeah, I again don't have much to say about Justin Hageman. He came in, ate a couple innings for this team, had a couple spot starts, but again, it just wasn't great, wasn't terrible, just mediocre at best.
Ty Adcock, D tier as well. He had like one bad outing, like maybe two or three decent outings. Uh, yeah, he had three. He came into 3 games. It was one bad outing. I think it was the first one where we were near Frank the Tank and he was yelling at him. Outside of that, he was all right. So D tier, whatever.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about Ty Adcock.
To speed this up, the next 3 just throw him in wolf shit. And we don't even need to discuss. I mean, Jose Uranus sucked. Uh, what's his name? Tyler Zuber, not good in his outing. And then Zach Pop, we don't even need to address what went down there. All of them wolf shit.
Yeah.
Luis Torrens, I'm feeling B or C tier. Like, I think I'd lean B tier considering for a backup catcher, he was good. Considering his numbers in the clutch were good. I know the baseline numbers don't look great, but to me, I'm willing to do it because he's just a good enough backup catcher. Like, that's really why.
Yeah, I put him in B tier for me. I think that's fair. I mean, even like when we what's it called recall back to the beginning of the year, and especially when Alvarez was out through injury, and it was just him and Sanger being the catcher duo. I mean, he held down the fort for at least a solid month and a half. And I mean, like you said, there was a couple of times where he had to come in terms of clutch at bats, and he came through with some clutch hits. And I mean, Torrenz's defense as well. Maybe there was like one or two, or I remember there was at least like a solid like week of games where Torrenz's defense wasn't great, but for the most part, his defense was solid behind the plate. And I mean, again, like I know Alvarez, and we'll get to him later. He had a very good arm behind the plate in terms of throwing out guys trying to steal second base. But I mean, Luis Torrens, it felt like it was almost automatic that anytime someone tried to steal second base on Luis Torrens, he would gun him out at second base. So yeah, Luis Torrens B tier is fine.
Hated Senzer C tier. It's unfortunate that he was even forced into as many games as he was because of Alvarez getting hurt, because of him struggling. But he played good defense and came through with some decent hits every now and then. Like, I don't know, he's a third catcher to me. I don't think it's fair to put him lower, even though the numbers were not great if you look at the baseline. To me, I just had no expectations for a third string catcher, and he was good defensively at the very least. Like, you could hang your hat on that.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think with Sanger, again, like it was unfortunate that he had to be thrown into this many games because, again, with the Alvarez injury earlier in the season and with him, at points, struggling, and then he had to get sent down. So, but listen, for what we expected out of Hayden Sanger, I mean, listen, he's Whole Foods, man. So for that, he should be an S category. But if we're going to grade him just based on playing ability, then yeah, I mean, listen, not a great hitter, even though there was a couple at bats here and there where he did come up with some good hits. But yeah, not a great bat. Base running was not really the fastest, but at least, like you said, his defense was at least solid behind the plate. So yeah, C tier is fine. He at least held down the fort while Alvarez was either injured or severely struggling.
And speaking of Alvarez, the tale of two seasons as well for him, like with Peterson. I'd go C tier for him personally. I know that, the injuries and him having to be sent down wasn't a good look, but when he got called back up, completely different hitter once he went back to hitting the way that he did in 2023, which, who would have thought, doing that would work? I guess everyone outside of Eric Chavez, but yeah, I mean, that offense only had depth at the end because of his bat. So for me,
Yeah.
I'm willing to go C tier because he was that productive when he got called back up.
Yeah, I agree. C tier is fine. I think you maybe could go B tier just because his second half was that good. But I mean, again, like his first half was just completely garbage. And I mean, when he came off the injured list, I think he hit a home run in either his first or second at bat in the National Series in April. But other than that, like I mean, his first half was just garbage. And I mean, again, who knew that when you tell Francisco Alvarez to actually pull the ball, hit the ball hard, and go back to his 2023 swing, who knew that you could get a productive Francisco Alvarez? But his stint down in the minor leagues, it was very productive. Obviously, JP Arancibia, he did a great job with getting Alvarez back into the form that he was, in 2023. And hopefully, like we were talking about earlier with the new hitting coach with Jeff Albert, hopefully we could start to see, the second half Alvarez that we saw from this year. Hopefully we could start to see this Alvarez throughout the whole season and throughout the whole 162. Because if we can get that type of Alvarez for a whole season, then I mean it changes the middle part and even the lower part of this lineup that much.
The White Bear. I'm going A tier. I can't go S because of his defense. Like, I'm sorry, but him injuring Kodai Senga, him having wolf shit throws to the plate, and just in general, there were so many mistakes in the field. And then down the stretch as well, there were points where he just was not swinging the bat well. Also, I know he got the home run record, so that should put him in S tier automatically. But I'm going A tier. Like, I know that you could argue S tier because he was, you look at the numbers, he did put up the best offensive season out of anyone. I'm not mad if you want to move him up to S tier, but for me, I'm going A tier just because of the defense.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're going to grade Pete, like if Pete Alonso was a DH and you would grade him just off his offensive stats, 100% S tier. Because I mean, you look at the stats: 871 OPS, 524 slugging, 347 OBP, 126 RBIs, 38 home runs. But again, like baseball is a complete game, and if you want to be not a two-way player, but if you want to play the field as well, you need to be at least reliable defensively. And again, just too many times from Pete Alonso where it's just either the bad throws or not being able to field a simple ground ball to him. It's just or even there was plenty of points where Pete, unintentionally, he even tried to make the harder throw when all he had to do was just step on first base. So, and I know like he's a good scooper of the ball and stuff, but again, like you need to be a lot better of a defensive first baseman for me. So, and again, listen, this is not to take anything away from Pete Alonso's offensive season, because I mean, if we recall back to the beginning of the season, especially the first month, Pete Alonso's bat carried this Mets offense, and he led them to a lot of wins. I mean, if we recall that the second series of the season in Miami, the third game of that series, the Mets were very close to losing that series, and Pete Alonso steps up, base loaded, ends up hitting a grand slam to lead the Mets to a win in that game. So, listen, like you said, if you're just basing it off his offensive stats, S tier. Like I said, S tier, but his defense just lowers him down to A tier for me.
Mr. Utility, Jeff McNeil. The only reason I'm going C tier and not D tier is because he saved the fact that this team needed somebody else to play center field outside of Tyrone Taylor. And while he wasn't the best in center field, he was, I would say, average or maybe slightly below average out there. At least he held down the fort for Tyrone Taylor at certain points. That's why I'm going C tier. It's not because of really anything else.
Yeah, I'll go C tier as well. I mean, listen, McNeil was decent for this team. I mean, there was a couple times where his bat was kind of I mean, there was a couple points of this season where McNeil's bat was actually the best bat at that point in the lineup. Like, especially I believe like in late August, like McNeil's bat was very good. But I mean, again, like there was still stretches where he wasn't great, especially towards the beginning of the year. Like his bat when he came off the IL was ice cold, and again, like his defense was decent but not great either. I mean, again, there was a couple times where he made some mistakes at second base, especially the last month of the season. In September, his defense was just terrible. And like you said, the fact that he was probably arguably the only other person to play center field at least decently, that saves him a little bit. So yes, C tier is fine for me.
Lindor, I'm going A tier, and unfortunately, it is because of the fact that he had a couple of crucial defensive mistakes. Like, that's really the problem that I have. He had a good year. Like, I'm not going to take that away from him, even though there were struggles throughout the season. But for me, I think A tier is a fair spot. Mets are hiring Kai Correa.
Yeah, because I just saw that. So yeah,
To
I
be
mean,
their bench coach.
we can touch on that after this, like briefly. But what you said, A tier for him, Lindor?
Yeah, I think A tier.
Yeah, I agree with that. Listen, Lindor was solid for this team. Like, I'm not taking that away from him. Like, again, he had a solid offensive year, 30-30 season for back-to-back years. He's the only other Met to do that besides Howard Johnson. So, again, he was fine for this team, but like you said, there was points of this year where his defense was just not good, and he made a lot of simple errors. So, like I said, like his offense was fine, but the defense just knocks him down to A tier. Similarly, like what we said for Pete Alonso. So, yeah, A tier is fine for Lindor.
Brett Beatty. I honestly don't even know. I really don't know where to grade Beatty. Do we go C tier? Because like he was really bad at the start. Obviously picked it up at a certain point. I don't know where to put him.
This is kind of the same thing with Alvarez, because Brett Beatty's first month, 2 months was just terrible. I mean, there was just long stretches where the guy just didn't even get on base. And again, this is not even just in terms of hitting. Like, the guy could legitimately not get on base. Like, there was times where it seemed like the guy, every single time he was at bat, he was already in a default 0-2 count. So, but I mean, listen, his second half was solid. And listen, I mean, when you look at his stats just based off the complete year, I mean, listen, like I remember us saying this before the season, like if you're gonna get around the 750 OPS from Brett Beatty, I think he would fully take that. And again, like he finished the year 254 batting average, 18 home runs, 50 RBIs, 313 OBP, 435 slugging, 748 OPS. So like I said, this is for me similar to Alvarez. If you just take his second half numbers, I think you could put him in B tier. But because his first half was just that bad, especially like I said, the first 2 months, I think you have to move him down to C tier. But as well, he played solid defensively. I mean, because what like we were like, and we're gonna talk about Vientos in a little bit or next up. I mean, Vientos' glove was just terrible, but Beatty actually gave you reliable defense at third base, and he was actually decent at second base. So yeah, I mean, C tier worked for Brett Beatty.
Mark Vientos, D tier, and it's
Yeah.
really just the fact that we thought we had our third baseman, the inconsistencies. He didn't do anything in the field. He got benched at the end of the season. Um, yeah, to me, I'm just going D tier. I'm just trying to speed this up. That's why I'm a little more brief with what I'm saying here.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we thought we had our third baseman of the future in Vientos. His bat was not good apart from a couple hot stretches, and his defense was just terrible. So D works for Vientos.
Luis Angel Acuna, also D tier, legit did not hit, but gave you good defense and stole bases. Like, I don't have much to say. He's a bench player at this point.
Yeah, 100% agree. Bench player, played solid defense, good speed, but can't hit. So yeah, D tier is fine.
Mauricio's another D tier. He was raking in AAA. They called him up, and he struggled, and they never played him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Brandon Nimmo,
See,
C or B. I mean, the inconsistencies is what I struggle with, and the defense at points very bad. I'm good with either one, honestly, if you want to go C tier. But there were things about his offensive production, though, where it's like I'm leaning B tier.
yeah, I'll move up the B tier. I mean, look, he had a solid season. It was weird though because, like you said, the inconsistencies. Like when he was hot, like Nimmo was a very productive bat, but there was large stretches of this year where Nimmo just felt like he was ice cold, and he was they kept moving him up and down throughout the lineup. Like again, large amount of times where he was batting fourth in the cleanup spot where he shouldn't be, and then when he got moved up like to the second hole or even the lead up spot, he was fine. And then like I said, like I thought his defense first half of the year was solid, but it did definitely drop off second half of the year. And look, I mean, the guy, he finished with 98 RBIs at over, I believe, 225 home runs. So, yeah, B tier is fine.
Tyrone Taylor, I struggle because he was so useless for half the year. And then the other half of the year, it's like we were begging for him, especially when he got injured.
Yeah, I mean, the only logical reason, because if we're just meshing everything, I think D makes sense. But because, like we were saying, and this goes back to the McNeil point, because Tyrone Taylor seemed like the only reliable guy that could play center field, I think I at least feel comfortable putting him in C.
I agree there. Yeah. It's just the defense you got from him compared to everyone else. Tyler McGill, D tier. He gave some decent starts in April, like always, and then he fell off. I think that's just a fair spot.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if we're just going based off March and April, McGill, S tier, because the guy looks like the best pitcher in all of Major League Baseball whenever he's in March and April. But naturally, once the calendar flips to May, he looks like ass. So yeah, D tier makes sense.
Back to back wolf
Bullshit.
shit. Let's
Wolf shit.
dud of a trade deadline acquisition, dud of a offseason trade. A certain someone was not pleased with Jose Siri's work in center
No.
field either. So, and I was not pleased when he was dropping routine fly balls. So, Travis Jankowski, incomplete. Yeah, I mean, he gave an inning of work against Pittsburgh, so that was nice. Starling Marte, I think I'm the biggest Marte hater in the Mets fan base.
C tier.
I want to go lower. I really do. I just my problem is he's a DH that's offering you no power. There were so many times he came up in clutch spots and just was not getting it done. And on top of that, just the money he's making for the production just is not good enough. He can't play the field, and when he did play the field, it was like a spring training game because you had to pull him after 3 or 4 innings. I You could put him in C tier, but my bias, my hate bias wants to put him in D tier.
Yeah, I mean, again, I can see an argument for both. The only reason I'll maybe put him in C tier is just because at least there was points throughout the year where he was at least solid offensively. But again, like you're getting the guy's making $20 million, can't play the field, and the guy's supposed to be a DH. And again, like it's not really technically a DH just because that's not a guy who you rely upon to hit home runs at a consistent rate. But I mean, I'll be nice. I'll give Marte a C.
Winker, you could put in incomplete. I don't think it's fair to really give him a grade. Jared Young, just I yeah, and you could just do it again. Just
Yeah.
I'm not even wasting time on Montas. Tidwell, I would say incomplete as well. I would just put Dylan Ross in incomplete also because he didn't even pitch. Reed Garrett, another guy they just ran into the ground. C tier, another guy, tale of two seasons.
Yeah, again, I agree. Tale of two seasons was lights out the first half of the year, but naturally, with Reed Garrett, they overuse him, and again, like it seemed like, and this kind of goes to the point where, like with Brosbon, it seemed like later in the year, every single big, what's it called, like high leverage spot, Reed Garrett was in that situation, and it makes sense. They ran him to the ground, and he got hurt towards the end of the year, and now he's getting Tommy John surgery, so he's going to miss all of next year. So yeah, it is what it is. C tier for me.
Yeah, he got Tommy John, I think, 2 days ago or something, and we saw him freaking blow his arm out warming up against the Padres. So that was great. He either had to take a shit or he got injured. I said it at the time. Yeah, the long leash with this guy Stanek is what drove me the most insane. I don't even want to talk about him anymore.
Yeah, just again, like I just don't understand why this guy had such a long leash. It was like it was like the Mets said, okay, we need a 2024 version of Adam Ottavino, and Ryan Stanek perfectly fit that description because this was a guy that was shit, and for some reason, Carlos Mendoza had a love affair with him because that's the only explanation for why Ryan Stanek was used in that many games as he was. Because I mean, the guy he was horrible. Didn't get any swing and miss on his fastball and was just walked a lot of guys, gave up hard contact a ton of the time. So yeah, bullshit.
Diaz S tier, not even a question. Just was the only reliable reliever outside of Brooks Raley the entire year. Not much else needs to be said.
Yeah. Apart from Diaz's shaky start to the year, where he looked a little bit shaky in March and early April, I mean, once the calendar turned to like May, Diaz was simply lights out. And I think maybe he had one or two blown saves this year. I mean, like I said, the guy was lights out every single time he got there. Had a couple, like I said, like shaky outings, like especially that Cincinnati Reds one in that first game of the series where
the
walks the bases loaded and gets out of that. But I mean, yeah, the guy was just lights out every single time.
Yeah, the other one was the Marlins one that lives in my head. Clay Holmes, B tier, considering he's similar to Canning for me, where considering the expectations, I think he did good. Like if you told any Met fan the baseline numbers he put up would be his end of the year results, I think everyone would have signed up for that. And he unfortunately was put in a spot where he had pressure on him because the rest of the rotation sucked.
Yeah, I agree with putting Holmes in B tier. I maybe would have put him in A tier because I think his transition from reliever to starter, even though it wasn't perfect this year, he was still able to successfully do it. I mean, even like when you just compare the numbers, I mean, the guy in 2024, his last year out of the bullpen with the Yankees, pitched 63 innings. This year with the Mets, 165 and 2/3 innings. Like the guy pitched 102 more innings than he did the previous year. So I mean, that overall is impressive. And I mean, like again, when you look at the baseline numbers, like what was it, a 3.53 ERA. Like if you told me you were gonna get that out of Clay Holmes before the year started, I would have shaken your hand and bitten your hand off right there. I mean, listen, he did have his points where he struggled. I mean, like, because I believe it was like middle of the year around there, like July and August, the fatigue started to get to him, and he started to have these like shorter type of outings. But again, like, and again, we also had the other concern where Holmes kind of, he would go away from his deeper arsenal and he would just stick to more of that sinker, sweeper, slider routine, similarly to what we saw when he was a bullpen arm for the Yankees. But I mean, listen, the guy pitched well as a starter. And also, let's not forget Game 161, where Holmes single-handedly put this team on his shoulders to try and carry them into a postseason spot. So, yeah, and listen, I have hope for Clay Holmes next year that he could improve upon this and be an even reliable and be an even better starter next year. So yeah, Holmes B, that's good for me.
There it is, the player grades. If you want to start talking about the last news a bit, go ahead. I'll be back in a minute again with the bench coaching hire.
All right. Yeah, guys, so we just got some breaking news over the past, what was it, half an hour from Pat Ragazzo. The Mets are hiring Kai Correa to be their new bench coach under Carlos Mendoza. Correa was the San Francisco Giants bench coach from 2020 to 2023, and most recently Cleveland's minor league field coordinator, director of defense, base running, and game strategy the last 2 years. To be honest, again, similarly to the Jeff Albert thing, don't know who this guy is. So, I mean, again, I don't have, too much of opinion on this, but I mean, again, if we're just gonna go based off like the resume and stuff, I mean, the fact that he was Cleveland's minor league field coordinator and director of defense, and we know that the Guardians are typically a very good defensive team and they're a very good base running team, and again, like we see that a lot of the times with some of their prospects that get called up. So, again, resume looks solid, but again, I really don't know, and I really don't know much about this guy for me to form like a full opinion on it. And again, like Giants bench coach, again, the Giants had some good years when he was there, like that 2021 year where they won over 100 games, they won the NL West. So again, like I said, I don't have too much of opinion on this. We'll see how he translates into that role of bench coach. But I mean, to me, not that I'm surprised, but I kind of expected the Mets to have this type of hire of a guy that's at least had experience before being a bench coach. Because I mean, if you guys recall, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but a couple days ago there was a post from the New York Post on Twitter that said the Mets, and like we got the news before that Mendoza is going to be back as manager next year, but the article did say that Mendoza would at least have a short leash for next year. So if the Mets were to get off to a slow start, similar to what we saw in 2024, the Mets would get rid of him. And because of that news that we saw, I automatically thought that, okay, if Mendoza is going to have this short of a leash on him, then the Mets are going to hire a bench coach with at least some level of experience. Because again, like there was the rumors that, okay, that maybe you could hire a guy like Carlos Beltran to be the bench coach, and maybe if Carlos Mendoza gets fired, he could be elevated into that role of manager. But like we stated before the last podcast, because Mendoza had been a rookie manager his past couple of years, and you were going to fire him based off just poor results and not being able to transition well, it's like, again, why would you get rid of Carlos Mendoza to then elevate a guy who had never been a manager before in his major league career, or at least had never been a bench coach at the major league level? So again, that made no sense to me that they were going to go in that direction. But because they hired Kai Correa, and again, he had been a bench coach for those 4 years as part of the Giants organization from 2020 to 2023, it makes sense the Mets went in this direction. But again, just like I said, I don't know too much about Kai Correa, so again, I don't have that much of an opinion on him right now.
We finally got Correa. 3 years later, we finally got him. Yeah, I don't know. He was the interim manager for the Giants, though, when they fired Bob Melvin, and I don't know their record from then on.
I have it right here. He managed 3 games. He went 1-2.
I didn't even know that. They fired Bob Melvin with 3 games left. That is absolutely ridiculous. Interesting. That was 2023. I apologize, guys.
Yeah, 23.
But either way, they fired Gabe Kapler. That's who it was.
Yeah.
Although maybe they fired Gabe Kapler, he managed 3 games, and then they hired a new manager. It could have been that.
Well, it says right here on Wikipedia on September 29th, 2023, the Giants fired Gabe Kapler and named Correa interim manager for the final 3 games of the 2023 season. And then and then he ended up leaving in November of that year. And then I guess the Giants hired Bob Melvin. So
That is absolutely ridiculous that they fired a manager with 3 games left. Okay. Nonetheless, though, yeah, like you said, because I overheard it, that they were gonna bring in a guy that has some experience, obviously not a lot, but with Mendoza on the hot seat, which I'm glad to hear that he is on the hot seat going into next year. He should be. This is gonna be the guy that takes over. It's really just that simple, and I like bringing in as well a young mind, like we talked about before with Albert. He's at least from the century, like Carson was saying. So that to me is encouraging in that regard. But yes, let's hope that he passes physical.
yeah, hopefully that ankle is not too fucked up. But I mean, yeah, like you said, I like the fact that he's a younger mind, and like I stated before, because he worked the previous couple years in Cleveland as their director of defense, base running, and game strategy down in the minor leagues, and even said in addition to major league field coordinator. So and like I said before, the fact that we know that the Guardians are more of a fundamentally sound defensive team and they're a good base running team. Hopefully, like I said, like again, and this goes along with Albert, like we said earlier in the stream, like the resume looks decent, but again, does it translate well to the major league level? So we'll see what happens.
Nonetheless, we are gonna wrap up the episode here. One of the longer episodes. So thank you everyone for tuning in and watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Turn on your notifications so you know when we upload or go live. And we'll see you guys in the next one.